their face and cause infection. So even though they're not really after these trees for food, because they would eat bark, they take them down to keep their teeth maintained. And so we sometimes see beaver dams being formed, and then we end up hiring trappers to come catch them for us and relocate them. I never wanted to know the end of the story. But you see some more limestone outcroppings across the way. While we're enjoying the sunshine, I want to talk briefly about this log, and we'll see others that are like this. You can see there's a lot of things growing on it, right?
Do you want this to happen?
Yes, we do. Most good forest management is keep your trails clear, but don't take these things away, or at least not for years. And by that time, they'll probably disintegrate, because this becomes one of the, especially in the Pacific Northwest, these are referred to as nurse logs. This gives a lot of other organisms a chance to get their start. On this piece, I see some lichens, which are a type of fungus and algae combined, and some moss. But within this log are all kinds of hyphae of mushrooms that I like to call nature's arborist, because they're going to get rid of this, but they're also going to, and I'll show you later on, they're also going to grow these big brackets on dead branches. And those dead branches will fall down without hiring an arborist to come and remove those. And that's a service.
Okay if I take a closer look?
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, the things that look kind of papery are lichens. These are lichens. These are moss. And look at these beautiful sporophytes growing on the moss. These are their reproductive structures. These sporophytes create spores.
Probably makes habitat for a lot of bugs too.
Habitat for bugs, for fungus, for plants. And it's eventually going to go away, but it takes a lot of years. All right, let's keep going.
I got a present for you.
Oh.
Randomly ended up in my hand.
If it was a little warmer and sunnier, we might see this whole log covered with turtles, but I do see one out there.
Turtles?
I do see one out there sitting on that log.
Oh my god, I don't see it.
Normally they'll take they'll be like turtle after turtle after
Just don't
turtle
fall in.
on this log. They're just coming out of what we call torpor, where they come out of
They didn't go back in the water. I didn't hear them. Yeah, they were right there. I saw the water move right there.
So we used to have somebody who was a reptile specialist, and she would she would mark and recapture some of these turtles, and we have some turtles that are like this big, around these 30-year-old snappers. I have a video, if we have time I can show you when she was marking it and letting it go. So you've got a piece of a bur oak, and we're going to talk about our famous bur oak shortly. So, yeah, in the summer, or just when it's a little warmer, we have so many turtles covering these trees here. I love that. I think I'll stop here just for a second too. So from here to the end, you probably see that it's narrowing. About 8 years ago, we did this big lake management project where we dredged the bottom of the lake, like with big equipment came in and pulled out sediment from the bottom of the lake. But we stopped here, and that sediment went all the way up into the ag fields, and then the water was diverted back here. But we stopped right here because we're trying to purposefully create from here to about the end as a wetland to be a pollution and nutrient sink, just like the bioswale. So water will slow down and put there. And a lot of the things we don't want to be in the water could potentially get soaked up by the plants, especially nitrogen and phosphorus. They're one of those things, like eating a whole cake. It's not a great thing. A little nitrogen and phosphorus. I say that because it's my son's birthday. The tax baby, 28 years old. I am getting very old, but
You look great.
that's very kind of you. Back up a little so you don't see. No, I'm just kidding. In any event, nitrogen and phosphorus are important for plants. We have way too many of them. They make our algae bloom, and they make bacteria. Then bacteria also have an opportunity to really bloom. Now there's good and bad bacteria. I'm not going to give a whole biology class, but this area is supposed to help with the water quality of the water.
Oh, I didn't
These
know.
little things moving around. I was trying to see if we should stop and look at any specific.
I didn't know that much went into making a river.
Oh, there's
Yeah, I took a video of this Harry Potter tree or whatever.
So I want to tell you a little bit about tex. I want to bring back that discussion of the nature's arborist fungus. I don't see any big bracket fungus, but this dead branch, you can see it looks like it has like a little kneecap along the edge. You can see that this branch fell in the same storm that we lost that other tree. I was so relieved when I came out here and I realized it was just one branch, because what happened is this tree, or this tree, one of these trees, that tree, this big huge one right here, it fell onto the branch and broke the branch on tex. But I'll tell you why we call this tex. So this is one of our oldest bur oaks on campus. Now the bur oak is a native keystone species. What that means is that it has a more significant role in the environment than some other than other organisms. And in this case, it's because it supplies habitat, a home, a food source, especially the acorns. You picked up that acorn cap. And that's, if I find one, I'll show it to you again. It's why the bur oak gets its name, because the cap of the acorn kind of looks like a burr.
Do you ever replant trees or try and plant trees here?
We do sometimes, and the best trees that we can add back to this environment are bur oaks, because I can get going on too many things, but with some of our soils being a little too warm with climate issues, we don't see our oaks regenerating as much as they should. They seem to be taking over, the spaces seem to be taken over by maples, which isn't in and of itself a bad thing, but the native environment here is an old oak savanna, meaning we've got these old oaks that extend their branches out versus up, and we've got prairie plants that grow between them. If you come back in like July or August, there's a lot of tall prairie plants that grow in between these things. But we might be lucky to see some real early spring woodland plants, or maybe if we were stupidly lucky, we might see some morels. It's morel season, which is a type of mushroom. I said that for Tuesday.
Do you get those here a lot?
We used to a lot, and I haven't seen them in years.
Can you eat them?
Morels are an edible fungus, but I would never encourage anybody to just forage without being with an absolute expert.
Ash and I are going to the Fumble Parade this month for the Illinois Mycological Association.
I have been on that before. So you'll be at the Chicago Botanical Gardens after? To see the show?
I hope so.
Okay, well, yes, I've done that. It's great. So the other reason I want to mention that we gave this tree a name, we had a naming contest about a year ago, and it was decided to name this tree Tex. We had a groundskeeper here, somebody who worked on the grounds. He was the director of grounds. But he was a student here, then he was a student employee, then he was grounds staff, and then he made it all the way up to the director of grounds. He was here for, now I'm forgetting, a long time, somewhere like 37 or 42 years, something like that. A and he contributed so much. He was such a steward of this land. Unfortunately, he died in 2020 of COVID, and in a way that we were not able to like really retrieve a lot of his institutional knowledge. So many times the Natural Areas Committee, we say, well, how would we, but we don't have him to ask. How would we do this? But he's not around to ask. So it's kind of a tragedy. But this tree is named after him, and so we honor him in this way. We have some roads too named after him. So let's keep.
Oh, the humble parade that we take part in.
There's want to find other nature reserves, especially ones that have more people, because then my parents will allow me to go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Because with the more I've been reading, I keep wanting to go, but my parents.
Well, where do you live?
I live 15 minutes away from school.
So still in Joliet?
Yeah, Edge is not getting place too.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're from Chicago.
Yeah, I'm from Chicago.
Yes. I still know my Chicago accent. You said Joliet instead of Joliet. Really? Yeah.
Oh, that's the accent. You know, I never recognized it.
All right, just a quick stop here to see these beautiful lichens. We have some that are bright yellow, some that are like a bluish green. Lichens are a combination actually between an algae and a fungus. But the reason I wanted to stop and show you these is they give us a good example to remember that these are clean air indicators. Oftentimes when we see some very brightly colored lichens, maybe you'll be somewhere in your life and you'll see a pink lichen, orange, purple, bright blue. You're probably somewhere that the air quality is so pristine, you probably want to get all that air out of your lungs and fill up. These are a little more tolerant of not such high quality air, but they still remind us that they're quality indicators, because on this side of the tree, they don't grow. Why do you think that would be?
Really?
They're road. So it's that sensitive that the exhaust from the road, they'll be like, not gonna grow on that side of the tree. So it seems like a minor difference, but that is what you'll see.
What is this called again?
A lichen, Lichen.
Lichen,
Sometimes you'll see
It's
that and
really
you're like,
cool, actually.
oh, that's because there's a road right behind them. Now, when you guys come out here on your own because you just love this store so much, you're going to see a plant that looks like a little tiny palm tree. It looks like a little umbrella. It's about this big. They're called May apples. And they will grow all over here, and they'll grow very close together because their apples are toxic and deer don't eat them. And so that's why they cluster, because if they can grow where because the seeds are in the little apples after the flower is pollinated and there's a seed, it drops on the ground, and if it can make a go of it, it'll grow there. If it doesn't, it won't. But unlike most things that animals like to eat and then defecate the seeds somewhere else, you don't see that. So sometimes when you see something that's really clustered like that, chances are it's either an invasive species that's out competing everything, or maybe it's something that's not being eaten and it's not being distributed to other places.
I didn't think about that.
They're really beautiful, and I've been told that the flowers themselves are very pretty, and I've been told that, and please don't try this either, but I've been told that some of the original native people, indigenous people that were living in this area, they would pick the May apples, but they would know exactly when to pick them and what to do with them. They would use them either as like a...
They were brilliant agriculture.
Yes.
They are, not words.
Yes, they are, if we could just stay out of their way. And just try to learn from everybody. Yeah. In any event, these little apples can be used at certain times of the year for making different kinds of medications, or in this one, sometimes they're just used as to induce vomiting if something else toxic was eaten. Oh, it feels beautiful.
Really?
That is really nice. All right, well, we're gonna cross this road.
Oh, it's doing the same thing here.
Not too much traffic. Okay.
I saw it, but I didn't have enough time to see it.
What you're going to see a lot of right now, right here, is where we've done our most recent burn. So let me explain burning, or maybe you know. So when we have prairie, you know, the leftover prairie plant from the year before is like over your head, and it doesn't necessarily get decomposed very quickly. So since there used to always be natural burns just by like a strike of lightning with this dry prairie material, but now we create areas that are to burn so that we can bring all that material back down to the ground, all the nutrients, because we want the nitrogen and phosphorus here. We just don't want it in the lake. So it comes back down here, and then it's good for the health of the plants. There's a couple posters, if you get a chance to look at them on the entryway of E, that show you the underground root system of some of our prairie plants. They're so long that it might make sense to you why this doesn't damage the plant. Because their roots are sometimes 10, 15 feet long.
Whoa.
And this is good for these plants. And they'll come back, and this will be a wonderful habitat for monarch butterflies, because we've got a lot of milkweed here, but also a lot of our keystone prairie plant, which is big blue stem.
Where can we go again to look at the roots? Like,
In the entryway of the E building,
yeah.
if you go up those little awkward steps, and then you look to the right, there are some prairie plant posters that are going from like the ceiling halfway down. If you're looking up, you can't miss them.
I'm gonna have
I just assumed they just let the whatever do whatever.
Anything in these bad boxes?
Well, these are bird boxes, but I'll show you our bat boxes. These were put up fairly recently. The wren houses. They were recently put up by PTK, and I think there are 14 or 15 of them. But we will see one of our bat boxes. We're standing on a chunk of dolomite, and I want to point that out to you. And I didn't point it out in your text. I could have. This is a boulder that was left here at the end of the last ice age, probably 6,000 years ago. And the reason for its importance is that there's a lot of this dolomite and a lot of those limestone outcroppings. You can see them there. But this type of rock and that type of rock, when it gets ground up into the soil, it raises the pH. It's a pH buffer. This is what makes some of our soils on our campus such a unique ecosystem. Because a lot of very rare plants can only grow in a pH that's higher than neutral. So we have some of those that grow, especially in our tallgrass prairie, which we're heading to. Well, the thing is, it's gonna look a lot better in July and August because it's the very beginning of the growing season.
Right.
So I'll show it to you, but I encourage you to come back when you're seeing
I'm gonna be in
flower and. Okay, so I want to point out this slow-moving creek bed here. You can see some flags. And those flags are marking crayfish burrows.
Is that walkable?
That, you don't want to walk in there, but we will actually cross the bridge.
Okay.
We've been doing and will continue to do some research trying to find a particular endangered dragonfly. But how does that have to do with burrows of crayfish? Well, there's a particular endangered dragonfly called the Heinz emerald dragonfly that overwinters in the burrows of crayfish. And we have a specific kind of crayfish that makes those burrows. So we have the specialty crayfish. We think we have the dragonfly. We haven't found it yet, but we're not giving up because it could help us protect this space better than it's protected now. And I'll describe that more as we keep walking through. But that's what those are. They're marking crayfish burrows. We sampled this area quite a bit in the summer thinking we were going to catch this dragonfly, and we haven't yet. We took some eDNA samples. It didn't come up with the dragonfly. But we're not done with that yet. I really believe it's here.
What did the dragonfly do exactly?
Dragon, and I should have mentioned that. Dragonflies, like on my boots, that's their adult life. The thing that you think of as a dragonfly with wings, that's their short-lived adult life. Most of their life they live in the water as an organism that looks a little bit like a cricket.
I didn't know
Sometimes
that.
for 4 to 5 years. The Heinz emerald has to live in a system like this that's also basic and stream-fed for 4, 5, 6, sometimes 6 years, and then it emerges as an adult. So we think we have it, but we haven't found it yet. But we'll be getting our chest waders on and looking through here again. If I'm able to show you a closer burrow, I will.
Check them at all.
But we do have students that come out and take samples and learn about stream ecology. This whole area also just recently got burned. It normally looks so barren. Yeah, the path is a little bit usually more clear because normally there's plants
Oh,
that look like that before they were burned. See all that dry,
yeah.
berry material. Or this dry prairie. Read about like they have a number here. Like in that little book it'll be like number 14 and it'll give you a little something completely different than Please watch yourself here. This needs to have some restoration for the trail. It's a little dangerous. You might want to walk on the side of it.
Oh, what are these blessings for again?
Well, this was to hold the soil on the trail, but it's been washed away, and somebody needs to come and just add some soil and pound it down so that it's not quite like that. That sounds like a sheep, but I don't know what kind. This is another part of our study site for the dragonfly, but as we move up here, I'll tell you why it's important, why we're really looking for some invasive or endangered species.
I'm very fortunate we live in Illinois because Minot, North Dakota, where I was last stationed, nothing like this. Like, we are very blessed.
It's a little flat.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Pennsylvania, so I was quite used to prairie and flatness, so much flatness, but I do love it. I do want to stop here and talk about a couple things. One of the things that I talk about with my students when I come here, and I stop right here, is that one of the things when you're learning about how to advocate, conserve, and protect ecosystems is you have to figure out how many of everything there is. But we're standing at what's called a positive edge, something called edge effect. We have a somewhat disturbed but a deciduous forest over there. We have a wetland. This is a wetland because it's always got water, at least some water seeping into soils. And right behind me is the jewel of the natural areas, our restored tallgrass prairie and fen, meaning that there's some water that moves through it. It's a dolomite fen because it has that rock ground up in the soil. It has a slightly basic pH. So if I was a population ecologist and I started to count stuff up right where I'm standing, I might get an overestimate because organisms from the wetland, organisms from the deciduous forest, and organisms from the tallgrass prairie are all going to intersect along along what's called a positive edge. And so these are some of the concepts that we can talk about in the classroom and then, just strengthen our understanding of it out here. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about protection of the space. And I don't mind sometimes just being very, I guess I'm always very transparent. It was 2017, there was a offer that was brought to our board, which we've always had some problems with. We still have terrible problems with. But the board took this proposal and they were milling it around. It was, let me give you guys, JJC, $2 million. And because we pay taxes, we have a board that oversees a state school, because we're a state school. So it's about tax dollars, because I was like, well, why do we have to deal with the board? And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because some of our tax dollars from the school area help to fund. So anyway, we put this board. It's a problem. Not all of them, but there's some, and they've always been. And one of the problems was they were offered, here's $2 million, we're going to go ahead and make a road right through the middle of there. And
Wow.
this was like a labor of intense work, love, whatever, a sense of space, whatever you want to call it. So all of us were, a lot of people were just enraged by the fact that they were even considering it, because a lot of our field work, especially when Professor Andy Neal, who's since retired, would take his classes out there and do like transects and quadrat studies, we were like, you're not seriously going to entertain this 1% of our operating budget for 1 year to wreck this environment. They would destroy the hydrologic cycle, like everything going downstream would be destroyed over time. When trucks with 18 wheels go through the new road, they would be bringing so many invasive plant seeds we could never hope to keep up, and this would just probably be gone in about 5 years. So we were enraged. We were showing up at board meetings. We were having like the Conservation Foundation and Audubon and students and instructors like, you cannot be seriously considering this. And then the company took their project elsewhere. So it wasn't that we convinced them. I like to think that we had an impact, but to be honest, they just took their project elsewhere. So it made us feel very vulnerable to the next time and the next time. Even before that, we monitor this place. We have lists of what lives here and how well these environments are doing or how poorly. But one of the things that would really help us greatly for conservation is if we could prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that some endangered species not only pass through here, which is probably the case if we do have endangered bats, they're probably just temporarily here because they'll migrate away. But we have lots of bats. We have a bat box right there. There's one. But they don't need a box. We're just adding to their habitat with that. But we've got some real potentials here. We have the Heinz Emerald Dragonfly. This is one of our other study sites because you can't see them now, and we don't encourage you to walk around in this muddy area because it's really sensitive. But we have a robust population of those crayfish here. And we believe that this is another real high potential to find the aquatic version before it becomes an adult. So we'll be continuing here. So we could potentially find the most critically endangered dragonfly, but it's not the only potential thing that could be here. The Blandings turtle potentially could be here. It's endangered. We're going to start a monitoring program in just a few months for the rusty patch bee. I have a partnership with a new instructor in ag, and her and I are going to Erin McMahon. We're going to work on that. Is that a tick?
Is there some type of protective organization that could come in here and say, no, this can't be?
That's what we're trying to do. We would like, if we could find any of these organisms, the dragonfly, the bee, the bat, the Blandings turtle, and there might be some others too, we could then reach out to attorneys to deem this place a conservation easement. It's not an overnight thing. There'd be a lot of paperwork and working on that. But if we could get this place, and that's an absolute goal of mine before I retire, I don't know if it'll happen or not, but to have this place under protection for perpetuity, for forever in all time. Like, you can't touch this space. It is got endangered species that live here. I guess I have to caveat that, which I've never done, by the Endangered Species Act. Hopefully with it, I don't mind sharing my own thoughts. Hopefully we don't gut that along with all the other things that are absolutely outrageously being gutted right now. But beyond the Endangered Species Act, wow, I didn't really think about the connection there. We do think that we could get some conservation protection over this, but some of us that are here all the time, we feel a real connection to this place. We work on this place, we teach here, and we'll do everything we can to keep it protected and safe from development. But let's keep going.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like just from a teaching aspect, it's almost needed.
You okay?
Oh no, I'm fine. No, I just noticed.
All right, yeah. Well, these are to deter, motorized vehicles. That's what they're there for. We don't have that much time, but let me tell you a little bit about what we're looking at here, and we'll head back. So when we crossed the bridge, that little footbridge, there was another path that went all the way, and you can kind of see it. It's just being mowed. They've just done burns here, here, and here, so you can really see the ground. But it goes all the way around till that tree line, and it comes back here. And I really encourage you to, I wonder if you can see our work. Oh, you can. Let's just walk up here just a few, maybe on the other side. Be careful though. We did an ecological restoration work day on Saturday. Some boats. If you guys see all these trees laying down on the path,
That's what they do with
all the way
the
here?
people that try to bury them.
Is that what they restored on Saturday?
That's all the European buckthorn we took down on Saturday. All the way here. We had 35 volunteers, and one of their biggest invasive problems is it starts out as a little shrub, and then it becomes a tree. It's called European buckthorn, and all of that tree line, that whole like wall of shrubs there, kind of like prairie grasses, is also all buckthorn. So we're working over there, and we're working here, and we're going to try to get to the middle where we get rid of all of it. But there's a seed bank, so we'll need to continue to manage. Once you've got your hands in an ecosystem like this, you oftentimes have to keep them in there. So our prairie, our fen is here, and it doesn't look like a whole lot right now. But in July, these tall grasses will be over your heads, and this will just be teeming with flowers, wildlife, birds, insect sounds. It's a beautiful place to walk.
The goldenrod.
The
I like it when it gets
goldenrod.
yellow.
The goldenrod.
Did this come from someone, or do we have some like creatures like that?
I like
it's a
how
terrestrial snail.
I like how over there you took me serious for a second. I was like, he's gonna say something. I was like,
Yeah, no, that's
oh.
a terrestrial snail. So we're almost
I almost
out of time,
feel
so
bad.
We probably need to start heading back, but I encourage you to come back out and do the whole trail. It's marked in those trail guides. I'm happy to take any questions. I guess I'd be remiss without at least mentioning this old stone wall here.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, it goes here, and it also continues over on the other side. We call it the old stone wall. There have been a lot of theories about why is it here, and you can see it here too.
Is it part of some civil war?
That's funny that you should mention that, because there are people that were here with like metal detectors, and they were trying to figure out if this was some kind of thing that was built during the Civil War, because there's some records that there were some soldiers kept here. I guess prisoners sounds harsh, but I guess it probably was. They were kept here, and they were asked to build this because they participated in this wall. Well, people came out and they did all this searching, and they were hoping to find like a button or a fragment of a uniform, or I don't know what. They found none of those things. So it could also just be that it was used to mark property. These limestone outcroppings are so abundant here that this would have taken a lot of work. We're not really sure exactly why it's here, but we do think it dates back for quite far, and we don't disturb it because it's probably probably filled with all kinds of interesting things, but we don't disturb it. It's always been here.
Could you get a protection if this was like a war site or something?
That's a good question. We have somebody in the library that's working on a different grant that has to do with this old stone wall. I don't know what she'll uncover.
What snail does this belong to?
It's some type of terrestrial snail. I don't know the species, but it's not. We have lots of snails in the water, but we also have some snails that live on land. Can I take any questions while we're out here?
I'm afraid to ask this, but I'm just gonna ask anyway. I really would love to explore all of this, but it is safe, right? Because that's the reason I didn't mention that. The reason why I haven't been to the Mortar Arena is because my parents are like, without somebody, you're not going by yourself.
I've been out here all times of day. We out here after dark. We have had some projects that involve that. We're incredibly early in the morning. I think it's safe. The only thing that I would recommend is that when you get home, because this is just the very beginning of when ticks are emerging, that you look for ticks on your skin. You've got about 24 hours before you have to worry about any kind of tick bite, because some of our ticks carry Lyme's disease. Not very many, very few.
That's
But here's the
lovely.
good news. This is why I don't want people to feel like so fearful. If you find one on your body, or even if it started to, like kind of embed a little bit, you can just walk it back with tweezers. And as long as that's not after tomorrow, after this time of day, you'll be like, oh well, yeah, I had a tick. If they've been embedded in your skin for over 24 hours and you find them, then you've got another option. Prophylactic dose of doxycycline. Even though I should be the one who knows where to search and how to search for it, but I sometimes forget. I think it's too cold, but when you said safety, it's the only thing I was going to mention is that we do have ticks here, but it's pardon me?
People don't hunt anywhere near here, right?
No, not right now. Nope, not allowed. We do have a deer issue, and that's something that people say. But if we had deer hunting here, it would be by the USDA in a controlled way, where everybody would be
With safety gear and all that.
Yeah.
They look like little bedbugs, right?
They're black, and they've got the thing that looks like they're an arachnid. And if you see something that looks like it could be a spider with short legs, it could be a tick. You can look up what it looks like, but I don't want to make people fearful. But like, if I thought what is unsafe about this area, that's the only thing I could think of that could harm anybody. But if we're careful about looking on our skin, but you're covered from head to toe. Normally they would walk up the way I would if you cannot, like sneakers. Everybody's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, the bracket fungus.
and the mushroom.
Yeah, we've got some nice bracket fungus. So I don't want you to be fearful, but it is something to be cognizant of, especially at the beginning of the spring and the end of the season.
They don't.
No, they don't. They crawl. People have an understanding. They think they're falling from the trees or something, but they're just crawling up your legs, and almost never does that even happen. But I mention it because
Haven't gotten any yet.
I've never gotten a tick out here, but I've gotten a lot of ticks in my life. Not to worry.
What is
That's
the
a
signal?
bracket fungus. That's a mushroom.
Oh yeah, what is the signal? I'm not gonna touch it. But
Well, this has been dead in here since I started 20 years ago. But these are eating the wood. These are the reproductive parts of a mushroom. Like this is the part that can kind of like think about an apple that grows on an apple tree. Most of the fungus you can't see it; it's inside here. And this is like the apple. This is the thing that's going to make the spores. But these bracket fungus, can stay on these logs for years and years.
it's been here for 20 years.
This log's been here as long as
This one fell off.
when it fell.
Oh.
Yeah, we think we should just leave them though. We don't want to break them. Get these guys back right at the yeah, we'll head back now. We'll get back where we started.
is. It's nice being out in nature.
About it as just a woodland. This whole area that's lower than us is a wetland. And over there, there's also a swamp that we think about as a woodland. If you come here in the summer, like about July, you might be lucky enough to find my friend, who I see almost every year, praying mantis. She's usually laying a pod of eggs right around here. I've seen her so many years in a row. Maybe it's not the same one, but maybe it's a baby. But I always seem to see them right here.
What do you feed them?
I don't feed them anything, but I admire them.
Where do you usually put them?
We had a trail cam right where we were standing on that edge. That one got
Okay.
angry. And then we had another one on one of those trees over there. That's why I'm thinking about it. But we brought a step stool to the
Yeah, you gotta put it way up high.
We take it. We recently got some underwater trail cams. But we're in the process of getting some monitors to put some of those things up and have more of a... We don't have a natural area, student workers, so some of these things just haven't made their way to happening yet. When Max left, we had an amazing student worker for a year and a half, but then when they left, there was no way to fill that hole. Their knowledge and that, so we're looking.
Did you hear about the fish doorbell?
No.
I don't know where, but somewhere they install a camera where they let certain fish through and others not. They're invasive. And it's like a citizen science program where it's a live camera and you hit the button to open the door for the fish.
I didn't.
So they call it the fish doorbell.
Where would we find this?
I can look it up.
I know that they have fish ladders, like in Seattle. You can go underneath the ground, and you can watch the trout going up the river around the dams.
Oh, cool.
But the fish doorbell is something new.
Thank you.
Yes. All the seasons have their benefits. Pretty soon, the spring ephemeral wildflowers will come up. May apples. We'll enjoy that first. Then, a lot of these will have their little flowers. Some of them are already budding up. Yeah, they'll be because of the mushroom. Illinois mushroom season is fall. So right now, I'm always happy to tell people about
Yeah, I just
share my passion of this natural
Yeah, I just randomly came up on her today, and I just
Kind
randomly.
of distract you alone. But
It was
worth right?
fun. It was really fun. It's great. I didn't know this much work went into this.
Well, and this is it's kind of like tip of the iceberg, really. There's so many other things that we didn't talk about that happen. One of the things that really needs to happen soon is some more lake management. You'll see the lake covered with what looks like a blanket of green in July. Yeah. Well, and some of it, a little, just like the cake thing, a little bit of it's fine, but a whole stifling green makes it hard for oxygen to go into the water. So we got a new boat this year, just a John boat, not too exciting, with a little motor, and we've got some tools. Even if it just turns out to be a student demo, we're gonna rake some of the vegetation off the surface this summer and let it dry out, and hopefully ag people will want to use it as fertilizer. There's a lot of different things. Occasionally we release fish that don't reproduce. The fluid to help with bioremediation. I would love to see us reintroduce some native clams to. We have some clams, there's some clams, but others have
Clams.
restoring rivers with
River Watch,
clams.
no?
River Watch?
Yeah.
Well, the organization that does the clams is the Urban Stream Research Center in Warrenville. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if they're not partnered
Yeah,
with
definitely.
River Watch.
It's cool.
I warmed up to go through something like that.
Beautiful. I'm so grateful to go to I brought up, I told her and my friend Paul, which I'm proud of her and all that. But she gave me a tour of her school, and I was like,
We haven't seen all of it. On the other side is where I take sampling, a whole other restored old oak savanna. There's also a paved trail that goes mostly around the campus if you're not into walking on.
Is that the one that leads to Juliet?
It does head off on McDonough, but it starts at the baseball.
Oh, okay.
It's on that map. It's in the outer. We got our steps. We got the fresh air. Some vitamin D.
got a rock in my shoe. There's a rock in my shoe.
You didn't get lost?
Thank you. Hopefully I don't want to go on my own. Because I really do want to look at that schoolhouse. I was just wondering.
Well, it was a schoolhouse. It's a historic, old, authentic schoolhouse that was going to get demolished, and then someone brought it here, and it's used as part of our outreach. Little school kids come and they get a tour of the one-room schoolhouse, our planetarium, sometimes our natural area.
I've been inside the area, but I haven't done a show yet.
I need to go into the planetarium. I've never been in there yet.
They have shows all the time. I think they have a show for Earth Month.
Huh?
They have it Tuesdays and Thursdays, right?
Something like that. I saw it on one of